Good evening. Welcome to I Can Science That. This is a channel devoted to honest investigations of everyday science. We do a lot of talk here about sort of extreme ideas of science, and in that notion, hold on. In that notion, we have Alan here. And Alan, why don't you introduce yourself real quick and what you stand for?
Hello, I'm Alan. I'm a flat earther, or whatever you want to call it. Uh, and I honestly, I just like hearing both sides of it at this point now, because I feel like it's really hard to prove either way from our position of where we can't go to quote unquote space or whatever and all that shit. So I feel like I'm just here to learn shit and ask questions about stuff that I hear about in flat Earth. And in my opinion, I don't believe that water curves around a ball. Like, I don't think that that's possible, and there's got to be some other explanation for it because uh, uh, NASA wouldn't invest in much in faking things and lying if they could just simply produce the real thing. And that was really my jumping off point, because that was like where I had to take a step back and go, okay, what is physics? What does all this mean? What are they talking about? So that's what I'm here for, and that's it.
All right, great. And I think I would say that where we really differ is that I don't think they are faking it.
Yeah. So
And
I'm interested in talking to people that have, like, where I show them something that I consider blatantly fake, and they're like, "Nah, man, it's this or that." Like, I think that stuff. Like, I like hearing those kind of arguments and stuff, because maybe it's not. Maybe there's an instance where a video is real, and I'm applying. Like, I just like to hear it all. So
all right, and that's what we're going to do tonight. In fact, and what we're going to do is we're going to look at a video, and we're going to see how we each react to it. With Alan, I think is going to take the position that what we're hearing is lies or cover-ups or something.
it's definitely some sort of deception. Like, to on the terms of, like, does Don Petit know it's flat and he's purposely lying? I don't believe that. I believe he believes that what he's lying for is for the right, is quote unquote what would be like the right reasons, where they're like, we
Okay.
haven't been there, but we have to inspire the future generations, blah blah blah, that kind of bullshit. So he thinks that lying about, we'll go over it. But that's where I'm coming from. It's not necessarily that all these people know and they're like lying, like hot, like, pulling a trick on us. You guys have clearly been convinced that what you guys see in the sky is legit, and it all checks out. So that's really, what we'll get into.
All right. And so what we're going to do, folks, we are going to watch this YouTube video. So this is a YouTube video from Smarter Every Day. It's a really great channel, and I want you all to go rush over there when you're done with this one and watch this whole video, and then subscribe to Destin. We're going to watch clips of this together, and then we're going to contrast how do we react differently to that same video. So this is an exploration of how people can honestly look at the exact same piece of data, piece of information, and come away with completely different conclusions about it. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's cue it up. I have the scene queued up here. Let's see. I'm going to share my screen. And I'll share system audio. I'm going to share over there. Okay, yeah, that's what I'll do.
Hey, I'm going to go grab a glass of water real quick.
Okay.
It'll be like 30 seconds.
Okay. All right. Let me stop the share for a second while we wait for Alan to get back. All right, we're going to be watching the YouTube video from Smarter Every Day called 7 Holes in the Space Station. Yep.
All right, I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you back?
Yep.
Okay, I've got it queued up to a particular spot. Share system audio. I want you all to hear. And Alan, if you want me to stop it, I'm going to let it play for just to get this particular like exchange, and then I'll stop it. If you want me to stop it another time or rewind, you just let me know.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, here we go.
So you have a whole series of O-rings in here and a shaft that you rotate.
So, I mean, like on the space station, how many of these would you have?
7, because we have 7 windows.
What happens if you get a leak on that?
Then you have a leak.
You just have a leak.
And what you would do is
lose air.
Yeah, you would probably seal the whole cupola off. And then there's probably a plan, I don't know off the top of my head, but there's probably a plan for replacing the mechanism. Might require a spacewalk.
So my question.
Ooh,
Okay.
Swag, dude. That sounds really fucking cool.
Sounds cool.
Yeah, man. All right. So when I look at when I'm listening to someone talk like that, I'm listening for like, do they know what they're talking about? Like, for example, when you were talking to Corey about, and this is no diss to Corey, but this is just like I noticed it when you were talking to Corey about something about trigonometry, or it was something I forget. It was some term you used. He had no idea what it was, and it was like, oh shit, that's not good,
Right.
Like, so this is like a similar situation with Don Petit and a lot of astronaut interviews. Like, this isn't just like I watched this one and was like, oh, it's flat. Like, this is just a building of a preponderance of evidence, you could call it. I would go as far as to call it.
Well, let's break this down. What did you just hear? What did you hear that seemed...
I heard a guy get asked a question that he didn't know the answer to, that he should have known the answer to.
Well, let's back up.
Yeah.
He got asked a question.
Yeah.
The question was, what do you do if it leaks?
Yeah.
And,
okay. Sorry, go ahead.
No, if that wasn't right, then what was the...
No, he did. I was thinking of the part that comes later when he's asking about the mechanics of the thing, and he's like, "Oh, it's mechanical or whatever."
Yeah. Okay, we'll play that.
Yeah. I was thinking of that part. So sorry, I jumped ahead.
Okay. So what we just heard was he asked the question. Destin asked Don the question, "What do you do if this thing leaks?" And what was the answer?
He said, probably involve a spacewalk and seal off the cupola.
In the other order, but yeah.
Yeah. Sorry,
okay.
I'm dyslexic.
Right. He said, I heard him say, first thing I heard him say was, then you have a leak. In a very matter-of-fact, nonchalant kind of way, as if it was no big deal. Did you hear that?
Yeah, go back and play it real quick.
Let's play that up. Let's see if I can get that part again.
Probably a plan, I don't know off the top of my head.
What happens if you get a leak on that?
Then you have a leak.
So here's
look at his smile. He's like,
the plan that he doesn't know off the top of his head, though, is what he was asking about, and he didn't know how to answer it. So he just said he answered the question, the irrelevant part of the question. Like, obviously you'd have a leak, right? Like, so that's not what he's asking. He's asking about how you would fix it, like the mechanics behind that, right? Like, what's the protocol, right? Like,
does he say that? Where are you hearing that? Let's hear it again.
Okay.
And a shaft that you rotate.
So, I mean, like,
back up a little further.
How many of these would you have?
7, because we have 7 windows.
What happens if you get a leak on that?
Then you have a leak.
He's talking about how you would fix it.
He doesn't say fix it. He doesn't ask about fixing it.
I understand, but that's not what he's asking. Because
he says, what happens? He says, what happens if you get a leak?
Yeah. And the answer to that
question is,
like, dog, I understand. I understand what you're saying, but he's asking, my interpretation of what he's asking is, what do you do when there's a leak? Not
okay.
Not what you're saying, right? Like, he's answering a different part of it from your perspective to me. So
Okay, so
I see what you're saying, but it's to me he's dodging it. He's dodging the question of the protocols that he doesn't know, right? Because he's like, there's
okay,
probably something to do. And now hold on a sec. Keep in mind, he's an astronaut. He's they train for this, so he would know how to think. He would know exactly what he's talking about. His response wouldn't be, well, then you have a leak, because that's stupid. That would be if he wasn't. And he seems a little autistic, man. I'm not
well,
gonna.
he may be he may
I'm
be
not gonna.
somewhere on the spectrum. I don't know.
I'm not gonna pretend. He may have some issue, which is another thing in itself, that he would be allowed to be an astronaut with that. But anyway, but we could. Yeah, we could. We don't have to talk about that. We don't have to talk about that part. But
let's let me say what I think I just heard.
Yeah, go ahead.
What I just heard was Destin said, "What do you do if you get a leak?"
Yeah.
And Don Petit smiles and says, "Then it's a leak." What he's saying is, just like people say all the time, he's explaining that it's no big deal. That Destin seems to think that a leak in this O-ring would be a critical failure. And what Don Petit is saying is, your pre-assumption that this is a big deal is false.
Why?
He's saying very matter-of-factly,
well, Dustin,
no big deal.
Could you ask him that?
No, that's what I see when I watch this video.
No, I know what I'm saying. Like, so we could know though. Like, could you ask him though, so we could find out like what he meant?
Him this?
Yeah, because he's the one that. I mean, you have direct access.
I don't have access to Don Petit. No.
No. I'm talking about Dustin. What Dustin meant, like,
Dustin.
Like what his interpretation of the interaction was, because there's a lot of us talking about it, and I'd actually like to hear his side of it. But maybe he doesn't want to get involved in all that kind of shit. But it's being used as a pretty big point. From us, it would be interesting to hear his perspective on it. Maybe I'll try and reach out to him. Actually, I never even thought of it until just now.
I could reach out. I don't know how they feel about talking about this topic. I think they both
and that's
away from it.
And that's totally cool, man. Like, I'm not like I know how people. I was just I thought it would be interesting, or maybe if you could ask him on the DL and then tell me an email. But nobody needs to know, but we'll know.
Well, here's the deal. What we're exploring tonight is something else. We're not
true. Yeah. Go ahead.
We're not actually looking at what did he honestly mean there.
Yeah,
we're
for
looking
sure.
At how two people can interpret the same response very, very differently.
Yeah, you're right.
Based on what we carried with us into the conversation. For example, one of the things that I carried with me into this conversation was the understanding that if that O-ring leaks, it's no big deal. It's a leak. Just like he said, that's exactly, I think, what I would say is, well, that's just a leak. Don't go thinking that this is going to explode the whole station if we get a leaky O-ring. Right? Many people think that, and I want to make sure.
Fair enough. And you know what? It's probably because we talked about the vacuum thing, and you explained it to me with the math, not being that big or whatever. I understand, like, that's your guys' interpretation of that, and I forget it so easily because in every Hollywood movie I've ever seen, if there's a little tiny hole, that's a fucking wrap, dude. The space trip's over. So my bad for not reapplying that. I just realized that it does, that what you're saying does make sense or whatever, but most of us don't believe that shit anyway. So we're coming at it from a totally different perspective. So fair enough for you for believing in it, I guess, because it seems less. It seems, what would it be? It seems more logical than you're just brainwashed. Like, it makes sense that you believe that.
Okay. Right. It makes sense that I believe it, and it makes sense that he believes it. Right? He's got the same data that I have. So it would make sense to interpret what he's saying to mean an emphasis to the audience that it would be a very nonchalant thing. That if we have a leak here, then that would be a leak. That's a perfectly reasonable interpretation.
Yeah, fair enough. I hadn't considered that aspect of it.
Now,
I hadn't applied that.
Do we think there's a reasonable interpretation that his statements so far show that he doesn't know what to do?
Well, let's go back a couple seconds to where he's talking about, the thing that he doesn't know about, and
Okay.
let's see what we can
I
get
think
out of
that's
that.
coming right up. Here we
Yep.
go. Ready?
You just have a leak,
And what you would do
you
is
lose air.
Yeah, you would probably seal the whole cupola off.
Okay. So
Okay.
you would probably seal the whole cupola off. Does that sound
So-
like he doesn't know what to do?
Yeah, because he starts off with probably, that immediately strikes me as probably, I don't know, you dude. I mean, let's be for
Okay.
real. If there's a leak in the cupola, dog, you're sealing it, right? Until you can spacewalk out there and fix it, right? Like, you're not just gonna let it leak.
How bad is
Right?
the leak?
I mean, dog, if it's leaking, right? You got a leak, right? So
No.
you got, dog. I don't know, man.
Okay. You drive a car?
Yeah.
You ever had a leaky tire?
Yeah.
You ever drive on it?
Yeah, man. Dog, I don't know, man. It just feels different with the space situation, bro. Like, they can't be having a fucking leak up there, man. It seems so insane. Like, even still that you've explained it and it makes sense and all that, it still seems so retarded, man. That it's like that they could just have a leak and it's chill. Like, that's crazy. I'm still having trouble getting over that. So excuse the bias,
Well, okay, but you just admitted to driving around with a leaky tire.
I get it, man. I get it.
Why wouldn't they fly around with a leaky cupola? I mean, if it's a really bad leak,
seems
you
like the
probably
stakes
wanna seal that up.
seems like the
that's
stakes are
exactly what he just
higher.
said there. He
Seems
just
like the
said,
stakes are higher, though. Well, you
It's
said
no
you
big
probably
deal,
seal. Ah, fuck, man. All
but
right,
if
okay.
it's bad,
All right, fair
you
enough.
probably want to seal it up.
All
And he
right,
indicated that they can seal the cupola off.
all right.
Right?
Fair
So
enough. You're right.
the interpretation that he doesn't know what he's talking about, I'm not seeing that.
I can see where you're getting your perspective from. It's fair enough.
The word probably, when you heard it, you heard, I don't know, I guess probably.
Yeah.
When I heard the word probably, I heard, it depends, probably. Right?
Yeah.
And without those words I'm projecting words in the front, and
Right,
you
right.
are projecting words into the front.
It's fascinating, man.
And without
It-
those words,
Yep.
okay, and here comes the part where he doesn't know what to do. Here we go.
All right.
And then there's probably a plan, I don't know off the top of my head, but there's probably a plan for replacing the mechanism. Might require a spacewalk.
So
Okay. So there, I would agree he doesn't know that procedure.
And do you agree that he probably should, since he would be the one that would be fixing it?
No.
Actually, everyone on that ship should be, because if one of them died or something and they had to fix it they should all know each other's jobs. That's what they do in the military, where it matters, and that's the dead giveaway.
Were you in the military?
No, but I know how that shit
Okay.
works, man.
I'm trying to relate to something that you would know in your life.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, like, I know how to change a tire, right? I did not know how to change the fuse for the brake relay in my car until a few weeks ago when I needed to.
Well, let me just
Right?
let me. I see
mean,
your
that
point.
makes sense.
It does, and fair enough. So let me just end it on this point then. If I'm
Okay.
gonna if I'm gonna spend what it costs to send a rocket into space and put a man on the ISS, and not to mention the cost of the ISS and all that, the guy I'm sending up there, he's gonna know how to fix all of that shit. Like, I'm not so that doesn't make sense to me that he's just like, I don't know, what's
How
he gonna
many
get up
parts-
there and Google it? Like,
How many parts do you think there are on this thing?
not sure, man. But do they even have a way to manufacture parts if they need them or get worn out?
No.
Do you
Mostly
think that-
no.
Do you think that that's
They do
weird?
have a 3D printer now that they can print some stuff, but usually they need spares. They need spare parts if they need to replace something, and if they don't have a spare for something that breaks, they have to get it from Earth.
That's an expensive overnight trip, dude.
Right.
But
And so they had
I
spares for everything critical.
and see that kind of stuff. Like see, I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, you say that, but I don't
Well, I
know.
mean, this little valve on the window of the cupola, if it leaks, they seal off the cupola. And then they deal with it, right? They seal off the cupola and then they say, we call down to earth, down to mission control, and we say what the problem is, and they start working the problem, right? We have a whole team of people that'll work that problem. You're not up there alone, right? I mean, it's drama, and you don't believe it ever happened. But you ever seen the movie Apollo 13?
Yeah. When I was younger, I don't really remember most of it. That was the Tom Hanks one, right? I've
Yeah,
seen a
the
bunch
Tom
of
Hanks
the.
one. Tom
I've
Hanks
seen a
one.
bunch of them. Yeah, I vaguely remember it. I remember certain scenes.
Do you remember that the astronauts had a problem
Well, here's the thing,
and
man.
how
One
they
sec.
dealt with it?
Let me see if I can find this quote for you. Because fair enough, you got your support squad, but one second. One second. Come on.
NASA and Roscosmos has a plan for everything. Boom. Well, William, I think what Alan is objecting to is that Don Petit doesn't know what that plan is in this case. And I am suggesting that it would be unreasonable for your astronauts to know what the plan is for every little contingency. They would know all of the major emergency plans, but when it came to a leaking O-ring on the cupola, they would know to seal off the cupola if it seemed serious, and then they would call home and say, "Hey, we got a leak in the cupola. Please advise." Right?
Yo, I posted the quote in private.
Oh, okay.
But if you could put it on, it's from a book from what was it? Gene Krantz. He was the flight director of NASA.
All right. What do we got here?
So in the event of the people that are that would be responding to a quote unquote, emergency on the ISS, they wouldn't know the difference if it was like a training exercise and not real. And if they didn't know that they were participating in it and they went to work every day for 20 years, they would think that the shit they would be responding to what they think is real and it's just simulated data. And this guy, the former head of or director of NASA says that their guys there was no way to distinguish it. They had this stuff back in the 60s. They had it so good that their guys couldn't tell the difference between a simulation and a live exercise. So with that being out there, like I don't your reasoning doesn't apply. Like, you know what I mean? Because this undermines your logic. Okay.
Explain to me the logic behind we do really good simulations.
Uh-huh.
And that somehow leads to, and that means you have to know how to change the O-ring in a cupola.
No. Okay, sorry. We're getting we lost you for a second. So what you were saying about how you're not up there alone, you got the support staff and they'll tell you what to do. I'm saying Don Petit doesn't even know what to do because he doesn't have to know because he's never been up there. And secondary to what your point would be about the support staff and all that stuff, I'm saying they wouldn't know what they were participating in if it's just simulated data on a computer screen.
You think they wouldn't know the difference between you think Don Petit was in a simulator that was so real
no
that he didn't know he was in a simulator?
No, back up. Don Petit's never been to space. He's an actor. That's my interpretation of his astronaut career. That he's not. It's not about like these people aren't like the astronauts themselves. They're obviously some of. One second. So they would all have to know that they're obviously not in space, right? They might not know the Earth's flat or whatnot, but they probably do actually. But it's neither here nor there. But just hear me out. So they all know that they've never been to space. The astronauts, the people that we see on the TV and the interviews and on the ISS pretending and doing their magic tricks and CGI stuff, right? Those guys know that they're not in space. They're actors. They're acting. Okay, they know that. Okay, why they're doing it, blah blah blah. Who knows? We could speculate on that, but let's just follow that, right? They know that they're not there, right? Now, the ground crew, right? That these people are or the support team for these quote unquote astronauts, right? These people go to work every day, look at their computer screen, have their data. Like they have no idea what's going. Like if they're participating in a simulation exercise or like a training exercise or a real thing. So the only people that would have to know about it are these certain quote unquote astronauts, right?
No,
and
not
a few
right.
and a few other select people.
You're gonna
right?
have to give me some more people. The
Okay,
technician who wired this thing up. The
people
who
sure.
loaded the fuel on the rocket. The people who designed the rocket. There's a lot, hundreds of thousands of people are in on it. You can't fool us all.
No, that's a fair point. Let's work through it. Hold on. So
the ham radio operator who's tracking the satellite on his radio in his garage is in on it.
We could talk about the satellite thing in a minute.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah. Well, no, they definitely.
If you really think about it, you could have a few of the controllers. You could have dozens of these people totally fooled.
I was just watching a space launch the other day, or as a video, a debunked video kind of thing or whatever, of a couple of space launches that were done recently, right? And you can see the smoke doesn't even come out of the bottom of the fucking thing, like where you would expect. It's literally comes out of this thing in the ground, like it's like dog. So yeah, some people are fucking definitely in on it. Those people might not even be there. The whole thing might even be CGI on our end. Like they might not be loading up shit, man.
People watch the launches live every time.
They could be watching a blimp, man.
You
don't know.
Right?
They could be watching a blimp go up. Like they could be watching something launch.
What are you talking about?
They could be watching something launch up and then go off into the distance and then just fall back into the ocean, and they would never know.
You think so?
The people watching it, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. No, I mean you couldn't because people go and they watch. And there's a tremendous racket as the launch occurs, right? It's very violent. It's not a blimp. So it is a rocket. Right?
You could still
a rocket, and it goes up, and people can track it and tell you exactly how high it goes. And we don't lose sight of them until they're way, way up there. And sometimes not even then.
Dog, the people on the ground watching them can only see them for so long. Like it goes off into the distance, and then that's it for them.
But
so all the other stuff
on the ground bring telescopes.
Yeah, dog. And do you think that they watch them fucking launch into space and shit, and they're like watching the rocket and shit in real time?
Yes.
Okay? Do you have any videos of that?
Yes.
Can you show me some?
It's not even hard to find. The thing that's very obvious to me is that A, you've never gone to a launch and watched one.
Yeah, never.
And B, you've never searched to see what kind of footage is available. You've been told that there's no footage available, and you just sort of accepted that.
Every time I go to watch rocket launches or something right on YouTube, I don't ever see any things where people are tracking stuff through telescopes and shit. It's always official news stuff where it's a bunch of cuts and stuff. So that's why
MC Toon went down and live streamed a SpaceX launch last week. I think it was last week. Anyone watch MC Toon with his live stream? He did, and he was just on a cell phone, an iPhone filming it.
I got his
but
video.
He panned around and he showed there was a guy who had brought a truck that had.
Yo, hold on a second. Yo, Sean, what are you talking about, dog? Like, what, man?
Yeah.
You think the color of my skin dictates how I talk, dog? That's where I'm from. I grew up around a bunch of fucking black people. That's how I talk when I'm fucking getting all hyped up and stuff. If you got a problem with that, mute the fucking mic, bro, or mute the audio. You don't have to listen if it hurts your little ears.
Mm. Let's stay away from critique of someone's race, right? We don't. That's not relevant.
It's not relevant at all,
guys. Okay, so I was just saying, MC Tune, he live streamed it. I happened to watch, and yeah, I mean, of course, SpaceX has live feeds, so you can watch it from their live feeds, and then there's MC Tune doing a live feed on his iPhone, and then next to him, he shows a guy who had brought a truck with his ginormous telescope mounted on a tracking, like a tracking device, like this whole like turret thing.
Yeah,
it's pretty amazing. But yeah, that's the thing. No one can stop you.
1 second.
No one can stop you.
Don't worry about how I look, bro. Don't do that false virtue shit where you come here like you're concerned. That's concern trolling, bro. You're a retard. Don't talk to me like that.
What's going on?
It makes you look silly. Fuck, don't worry about how I fucking talk. Worry about your own self. You believe people are upside down.
Alan,
so
let's ignore that.
Sorry, man.
The topic.
Sorry, man. Get sidetracked. My bad. I'm not mad at you. That's just like I know this guy, and I just found out what he's been doing to someone that I watch, and he's a nice fucking guy. And the shit that this little fuck's been doing, he's a piece of shit rat motherfucker, dog.
It's not a spot for dumpster fires, right? We don't do dumpster fires here.
You're right. But I'm not going to sit here and listen to this, because normally I would ignore it, right? But I know what this guy's been fucking doing and trying to and harassing people in real life, dog. So
all right, I don't know about that.
So I know about it, dog. So fuck this motherfucker,
Sean. If you would just let's stay away from like personal insults and stuff like that. Calling somebody names, we don't need that. We're actually here trying to explore how two people can see the same thing.
You don't debunk
and
shit,
come
dog.
away with.
Mario. All right. So listen, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I'm closing the chat. I'm closing the chat. My bad.
Let's take it back. We're exploring how different people see the same thing and come away with different conclusions, right?
Yeah.
So we watched that video, and I explained how my take on it was very different from your take, because I came in with a certain picture of what an astronaut would do and would be.
Yeah.
And you came in with a very different picture.
Yeah, I guess my picture of it has been tainted, so I see them by default as liars and actors. So
right.
So that's where that comes from. I mean,
that's
sorry,
so
sorry about that.
If we cue up the video,
yeah,
and you're already thinking to yourself, he's a liar. You're thinking you're watching a liar. Then every little thing that he says sounds like a lie.
I feel you, man, but it's not just him, and I know that he's lying though. So like, it doesn't even matter. Like
I know that he's not.
I mean, I know that he is. So it's completely like, so that's where we're gonna differ on that, man.
When you say no, no, that implies you've got firsthand knowledge.
Fair enough.
That you do not.
Fair enough.
I'm just going to go out on a limb here. You have no such knowledge that he's lying.
Oh, fair enough.
So, okay. What you mean is you believe it.
Yes. I believe it very strongly enough that I'm pretty fucking sure, man.
Okay. All right. So, what did you want to look at next? I mean, obviously I'm not here to try to change your mind about any of it.
No, you're good, man.
You're
good, and you raised some interesting points from your perspective on it, because honestly, I thought that video was more of a slam dunk into it, and you raised some interesting points on your perspective of it, and I hadn't considered it that way. And my bias for it is very strong that they're liars. So, but obviously he's still never been to space, and he is lying. But I see why you see it differently.
Yeah. It's obvious that we see the difference, and I think it's big of you to accept that your bias is getting in there.
Oh, dude. Well, here's another one. That picture you showed me one of the last times I was on, where you were like, this was your proof of the
plane. The picture of the plane.
No, it was a picture of the sunrise. It was, I think it was I think it was the sun underlighting the clouds or something like that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I've got one
Yeah,
of those.
yeah. That picture is probably the best picture I've seen that that makes that shows anything that I would consider, quote unquote proof. But I mean, obviously, I'm not gonna revert everything based on just that picture. But I will. I'm not as insecure enough to say that, like, I haven't seen any interesting things that uh that make me kind of go. But still with the water though, like because I just can't go there with the water, man. And once it defaults back to that, like I know that's how I know that Don Petit guy is lying because I
Okay.
just can't with the water thing, man. Like I
You
know you
can't get
guys
past
with
the water thing.
yeah, I know you guys think the gravity and the upside down, it's all relative, but that for me, man, that's where I'm just like, no, that's a fucking game. That's a trick. And and then so from I'm working backwards on like, stuff on like how they would like fake it and or not fake it, like how they present it to us in a way that we don't know and they maintain the lie.
Okay.
And that's what I find interesting really is that kind of stuff
Okay.
too.
So what it all comes down to for you
Mhm.
is the water thing. That's the whole deal for you.
I mean, that's a huge one, man. That's a really big one. Like the vacuum and the particles and all that. Like, okay, whatever, you know, maybe. But the
The water.
water, the water bending over a curve around a ball, and then people being upside down, like
That's weird that would bother you so much.
dude, it's a game breaker, man. Because I just can't. Like I'm so far out of that mindset because I used to believe it, obviously,
Well,
and it
let
was
me
like,
ask you a
yeah,
question then.
yeah,
Do you believe in tides?
yeah. But we've talked about the tides before, and we came to inconclusive.
Well, no. I
It was
mean,
inconclusive. Yeah, there's
you know
tides.
that tides exist. So the
Yeah.
water is higher on one shore than it is on another shore.
Uh huh.
So um, the water's not flat, right?
Are you talking about like waves moving and like
No,
how
the tides. The water is like a meter higher on one part of the earth than it is on another part of the earth, right?
isn't it like thinking about it?
Dave Sims thinks I'm up to something. I don't know what.
I'd have to look more into it, into what you're saying, but from my understanding, that's not gonna doesn't mean that it's a on a ball.
It doesn't mean that it's a ball. No, I'm not
Oh, okay,
saying it's
sorry.
a
I thought
ball. I'm just saying it ain't flat. You know it's not flat,
it's
right?
flat enough that it's not bending around a curve, though, man. And then the
It's
people are upside
bending.
down.
The tides
Like,
bend, right?
like waves. Like what do you mean?
Waves happen, and the tide rises and falls,
I'm not
right?
saying that the water isn't doing that, but I'm
So
saying
how is that not a bend?
it's because it's not bending around a curve, man. Like that's
How,
crazy.
wait, what is that? What is it? How is it not a curve? Is it a straight line?
Sec.
It goes up and down. It's different in different places. And if you chart it, you can graph out what the curve of it is. So you know that water
I
doesn't
feel
seek a level. Water seeks a curve.
I what I feel like you're applying something completely different than what I'm talking about because I see what you're saying, but that's not what
Yes.
I'm visualizing in my head when I'm talking about going around a curve, and I don't know how to articulate this to you because it's not what I'm talking about. I see what you're saying, but
Well, what I'm saying,
that's not how I'm conceptual. Yeah, looks like my mouth's
what
super dry.
yeah, what I'm saying is you see those things as different.
Hmm.
You see that tides are this natural undulation maybe of the water, but that somehow that's possible, but bending around a curve is somehow different. And I'm pointing out they're not different. and
I can't see in my head how you're making that connection though, man.
I'm saying, I think we can agree. I think we say, oh, the ocean is flat. I think we can agree that that's not true. The ocean is definitely not flat. It has waves and it has tides.
Yeah. Okay. So when I say flat,
Okay.
I'm not saying that it doesn't do waves and tides, right? I'm saying though that it doesn't curve around a ball. Like if the wave went out far enough and then hit like, let's say an ice wall or something and then reverberated back and something like that happened, maybe that would explain it more than it being around a curve, man. Because like I can't.
Tides are not waves though, right?
No, I didn't know that. Are there not?
No, they're not. It just rises and falls.
No, but isn't that due to waves though? Like of the water moving and like changing? Because that's how the
No, you're not a surfer, I'm guessing.
No.
The
No, go ahead.
There's 4 high tides a day, every day,
Right.
and they're synchronized with the sun and the moon.
Right.
When the moon's overhead, you get the high tide, and then when the sun is overhead, you get the little high tide. And if they're at the same time, either at the full moon or the new moon, you get the double tide, right?
Yeah. Okay. But I know how they're synced up and all that stuff, right? Like I get that part. And I'm not saying I don't concede that, oh well, gravity obviously does it. That's not Nope.
Right.
But I know what you're talking about. But my understanding of how the waves, or how the water goes up and down would be like the water's leaving the area because it's going out in a wave or something. Or is that,
Oh,
is
it's
that
going
not
out. Yeah, it's
is,
sloshing around.
yeah,
Sure.
that's so that's okay. So what I'm picturing in my head still makes sense to me. Uh, if it would be flat then, because the same thing would be happening. The water, creating the wave makes it like that. That's just a result of the wave, of the tide. So that's
It's a result of the tide. So what I'm saying
yeah.
is you're totally fine that a tide can cause the water to bend.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough. But like we're saying that it's like sticking to a curved surface. We're not saying that it's bending in like free form from,
By the
like
way,
a wave going through it.
no
Okay.
one
Sorry.
says it sticks to a curved surface. No one
Okay.
ever said that,
Is
except the flat earther.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm sorry. 1 second then. So, this is my understanding of the heliocentric model. Maybe I'm totally incorrect. What's that thing called? It's like G893. It's like a serial number or some shit. It's the model of the Earth. You know what I'm talking about?
WGS 84, probably.
Sounds familiar. So is that not what the solid land mass, quote unquote land mass of Earth would be, right? Like it's that stuff's solid, right?
No, it includes the water.
Hold on one
It's the
second.
water and the land.
Hold on 1 second. There's something, maybe that's not what I'm thinking of. There's something I'm thinking of where it shows what the Earth looks like with no water, basically. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Fuck, I kind of lost my train of thought getting to that point because that's what I was talking about. Maybe it's not the GS model thing or whatever. But fuck, what were you just saying? Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
I was just saying that flat earthers like to say water doesn't stick to a ball.
Oh, right.
As if you're saying that it's
ball, right.
sticking
So,
to the ball. It's not
yeah,
what
yeah.
it does.
Okay, so my bad. So if there was no Earth on the water, right, it would just be like a ball rock, right? Essentially like a spherical rock, right?
If there was no water, it would be a roughly spherical rock. Sure.
Okay.
Like the moon.
So the water in the ocean, right, it has to stick to that rock, right? That's what I'm saying. And
no, when you say stick to,
yeah,
that implies an attraction.
Well, doesn't that the mass attracting mass, like as you guys say, the mass of the water is attracted to the the mass of the Earth or whatever, and that's what's holding it around the curve.
Right.
Isn't that what
you got me there? It is an attraction towards the mass of the Earth, right?
Right. So that's where I'm saying that's what I don't see that happening anymore in my head. Like, because I used to believe that, but I just don't anymore, man. And it seems nonsensical, and it doesn't, like, as far as we can see, you know, where we get to the point where you know they show us this stuff from, you know, quote unquote NASA, and then like you find out that it's artist renditions, and then they're like, oh, it's Photoshop because it has to be. I mean, the guy that made the picture says that, so I don't know why you're shaking your head. Go
Because
ahead.
it's the same lesson we just learned with the Don Petit video,
Okay. Well,
which is if you watch a video
okay.
pre-assuming that you're watching a liar, you're gonna hear lies.
I don't think this guy's not lying. This guy's telling he's explaining the process of how he makes the picture.
He's okay. Before we do the exercise.
No. Yeah, no. Let's do an exercise right now. Pull it up on live. Let's watch it.
Before we do,
okay.
Apply what you just learned by watching the Don Petit video.
Okay, there's a perspective I don't understand.
There's a perspective
or whatever
in which.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. No, I shouldn't talk over you. You go.
That there's a perspective I don't understand because I don't understand certain aspects of, you know, physics and all that shit and math.
No,
Huh?
you understand all of it. You just are pre-assuming that you're catching him in some kind of gotcha.
Oh no, but I'm not though. Like he's just
not catching him in any kind of gotcha. He's just
not
answering the question.
Yeah, no, I'm talking. Okay, we're not talking about Don Petit at this point, right?
No, we're talking about it's Photoshop because it has to be.
Yeah, we're talking about that guy in that interview. I'm not saying that that's a gotcha. He's walking you through the process of how they make it. So when it's at that point, I don't trust that to portray as evidence of water wrapping around a ball is what I'm saying. Because like what he explained to me, it's like, okay, fair enough. You have to do all that, blah blah blah, and then I don't trust it. I need something else because, you know.
Okay, have you not yet figured out that there's an interpretation of that answer?
No, I'm interested in hearing your.
That is wrong. That you're not taking.
I'm interested in hearing what you think of it, because I never, you know, asked anyone.
He was asked how he made that image that he showed. Right. He made it with Photoshop.
He got it from a bunch of data, and they wrapped it around a sphere and all that. Like he explains all the steps.
That image,
right,
had to be made with Photoshop.
Yeah, right. I don't
because you can't take that photo up close to the surface. You can't take a photo of the entire surface from up close.
It's not just the Photoshop. I'm sorry if I'm interrupting. You're kind of lagging. I don't know if I'm talking over you or not, or your video's lagging.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. I wasn't talking over you, was I?
No. I think there might be a little bit of a lag.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Shit. Where was I? Oh, so it wasn't just that it has to be Photoshop. Like I get that, you know, fair enough. But he's explaining how they got the data and how it's all, you know, strips of blah blah blah, and it's just like at that point, like I'm not gonna go, oh yeah, that's a quote unquote picture, as if I just whipped out my iPhone and took a selfie with the Earth. You know what I mean? It's not the same. It's not analogous to that. So I don't consider that evidence anymore. That's proof that water bends around a ball.
Did he say all photos of Earth are photoshopped because they have to be, or did he say this one photo had to be photoshopped? Which was it?
I can't remember, but that doesn't even matter whichever one he did say, because they later went back and admitted that all the pictures are fake except for quote unquote one.
No, of course not. Where do you get these things?
Memes, I guess.
Of course not. No, we have 24/7 live video of the Earth from space.
Oh, the Himawari thing.
There's multiple of them. There's multiple. Himawari is one good example.
The EASA or whatever it is, ECA, or I can't.
It's Japanese.
Yeah. No, I'm thinking of something else. But anyway, yeah, man, those are all fucking fake, bro. Like I don't know what to tell you. It's all CGI. Like that's my perspective on it. Because
but hold on, Alan. You went from the guy just said to they admitted they're all fake to acknowledging that they did not admit they were all fake. You just say that they're fake. You see how
If
you
you-
walked us from
Okay, fair enough.
from truth. You started at truth, and then you twisted it.
Okay, fair enough. Let's walk it
That
back.
was it. Now, Alan, I'm going to have to call you out here for a minute.
Okay.
You started at a true statement, and then you lied, Alan. You said something that's not true. You said they admitted that it was all fake.
I've seen people, or I've heard people talk about that in videos on it. I'll have to go back and look at those claims then, and I'll email you a fair enough point for addressing that. 100%, 100%. I will look further into that and get back to you on that. You're
You named
absolutely right.
Himawari by yourself.
Yeah.
So
well, we've talked about it before.
So you hear anybody claim that NASA admits they're all Photoshop, right off that person's not telling the truth.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and look further into it then, because to the point of the pictures though, I've heard it somewhere. I can't remember where, but they were like, yeah, they're all fake except for this one or some shit. I can't remember. I will look further into it. That's what I was going off of. And if it's incorrect and and you're not aware of that or whatever,
well,
fair enough. I didn't mean to, lie or whatever.
Right. And lie is not really the right word.
But no, it's good. It's fair enough that you called me on it though. And I will look further into it because, if I'm going to base my fucking beliefs on that, I better fucking know it. So
what we're seeing here is extreme bias.
I'll go back to it. Yeah.
We're seeing a lot of bias here, right?
I mean, I agree with you.
Okay. So not to argue whether Himawari is real or not. I did want to dig into that just a little bit, and that hopefully if you go home and you didn't, and I haven't changed your mind about anything else. I want to change your mind about one thing.
Okay.
When you watch a video, watch it once and just think whatever your brain's going to think. But then I want you to go back and watch it again and say, what could he mean from his point of view? Not my point of view, but from the other guy's point of view. What possible interpretation could there be for this?
That's fair enough. And that's where I'm trying to get, because I realize that I've gotten so biased with it that it sounds insane. And I know you guys think I'm fucking crazy or stupid or whatever. But it is what it is. And I'm working my way to have a more logical approach to it than just be straight super biased towards it. So
okay, yeah, and
so I appreciate
what you're doing. I will attest to that. You've reached out to me numerous times, just like in private, about what do you think about this? What do you think about this? And you've always seemed really open to hearing what I have to say about those things. So yeah, I think that's really cool.
Yeah, man. I think it's cool that you fucking answer, man, because I know you're fucking busy and you got shit to do. Talking to some fucking dude on the internet about the shape of the earth. So I appreciate your time and stuff, man. I really do.
Well, the main reason people are always asking me, why do I do it? The main reason I do it is because I think we all have that same tendency to take our personal bias with us into every conversation that we join. And it creates arguments, right? Family arguments sometimes caused by that, or political situations where we go off the rails on political stuff just because.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think we could all really benefit from starting to understand how much we do that, how we take our bias with us into that conversation. And if we just looked at it from the other sides, we might start to see how that's influencing us.
Yeah, fair enough, man. That's
that's
why I come here to talk to you about this stuff. It's like I know people are like, they're judging me and they think I'm, they think whatever they're gonna think. But I want to be, I just want to learn more. I don't give a fuck.
Okay. And I'd like to run with this a little bit. you've come into watching these, Don Petit is clearly an actor. He clearly is a liar. That's what you brought with you into there. We agree that there's another point of view that if you don't believe he's a liar, then you don't hear him saying anything incriminating. There's nothing incriminating in there, right?
Yeah.
So we can start with an agreement that we didn't catch a liar. Either you started thinking he was a liar from the beginning, or you started thinking he was honest from the beginning, and that we saw nothing that would change your mind. Right?
Well, let me think, man, for a second. Nothing that changes my stance on it, because again, with the whole water situation, I know that he can't be doing what he's talking about. I know that that's not real.
Right.
But I did learn from, you from your perspective of it, that, it wouldn't be a big deal and all that, and how it could be interpreted as he answered it, appropriately, or to, satisfactory, or status to a satisfactory degree. So,
Okay. Then there was something else that happened that I think that was really interesting and related. Hold on, I'm asking Dave Sims a question. I want to know if he's a flat earther he thinks that this is some kind of fake. He thinks you're fake. So I don't know if he thinks you're a fake and because you don't represent his views, or I don't know. So let's see what he says here in a bit. But
okay. Well, Dave, when I say that, I'm not, like I'll come back and think about it later. I'm not trying to get caught up on it and process it right now, and hold up the whole fucking thing. So like I don't really even know what you're talking about.
Okay, Dave says the heliocentric model is one of the most blatant lies in human history. So,
oh yeah, that's how most of us feel.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so, what we just saw was when we carefully analyzed Don Petit's statements, we saw that there was no gotcha lie in there.
In accordance with how it's presented or whatever, then yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we heard you say
it's consistent with the lore. Let's say that. Okay.
Excellent.
So his answer is consistent with the lore. Okay. Fair enough.
Okay. And then we heard you say that you have heard somebody else tell you that all video from space is, photoshopped, and that NASA admitted that.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and look
that's
into
not
that.
consistent at all, right? About Himawari 8, so you know that it's not a consistent statement.
It's on a 10-minute delay, and it could be completely faked. Like they could just put the cloud weather patterns and shit over it. Like there's ways that it could be faked, and that's why I don't trust it. Just based on
I didn't ask you to trust it.
No, okay.
I'm asking you to evaluate whether the person who told you that it was admitted to be all composites from Photoshop,
I'll have to look back,
was telling the truth, or is now demonstrated to be untrustworthy.
No, he was telling the truth about how he made his picture thing, and the process in which it takes to make it brought it into question that, maybe it's not a real picture, because it could be the data that it comes from could just be like whatever. They get this guy to make this thing based on all this assumptions. It all checks out and turns into the ball picture. And that's what I'm saying, in terms of like how it could be faked and stuff like that. So,
right. What I'm trying to
so when we bring up the Himawari, I don't consider that. I don't even consider that as as evidence either, because it could be faked as well. I'm sorry, I'm misunderstanding. Go ahead.
I didn't want to ask you to.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
What I'm saying is, that the Globies, NASA and folks, have Himawari 8. And they believe it, or claim to believe it.
I mean, they believe they get data from it and shit, I'm sure.
Right. So you know that that is there for a fact. You don't know that the data is real, but you know that they say it is.
I'm sorry, that what's real again?
Um,
I was reading chat.
I'm not saying that the data from Himawari 8 is necessarily real. You don't have to believe that.
Okay.
But you know that NASA, let's just call it NASA says it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what they claim.
So
yeah.
anybody who tells you NASA admits all of their data is photoshopped, that's inconsistent. Those two statements can't
no. I'm
coexist.
sorry. You're 100% right. I'm sorry. I got sidetracked. I was thinking.
Those two statements
Yeah.
cannot coexist.
Fair enough. Like I said,
So whoever made that statement,
I will look back.
know for a fact that person is not trustworthy. Whether they're lying on purpose or they're just misinformed, we caught that person in a falsehood.
Fair enough. And I'm going to do my due diligence on that and go look into the claims because I have it. I know exactly what I'm thinking of in my head when I am, when I'm picturing, where that information came from. And I will go back and look into it and I'll get back to you on that.
Okay.
Of the exact claim, because maybe they never admitted it, but I'm pretty sure that they have admitted certain pictures where I'll have to, again, like I said, I'll have to go back and double check. And maybe we can like reword it or something. I'll post the thing in the comments and update to it.
I think what you'll find if you actually did like an unbiased, complete search into this, what you'll find is once in a while, NASA will release a composite image and label it as such. They will tell you when they're doing that. They don't try to pass it off as a real photograph.
No, that's what. Oh, okay. Okay, well, we'll get into that.
They've never tried to pass off, to my knowledge, they have never tried to pass off a composite as if it's not a composite. They've always been upfront, like that guy was. He was like, yeah, it's Photoshop.
We'll follow up on that on the comments then, because I'm pretty sure that that's not true. So
well, what's going to happen is I'm going to say, for example, Himawari 8, and you'll say, yeah, but that's fake.
We'll look into it.
What you won't find is them ever being caught faking it. You'll just find people who say it's fake and can't support it with any evidence.
I'm going to look into it personally and see what I can find out, man. And I'll report back.
The meme that goes around of all the different blue marbles stacked up together.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those are composites, some of those are photographs, some of those are digital images. Right? It's a mix.
None of those are pictures of the Earth, though. Like they're all
okay. I know you're not going to admit that they are, but you understand that NASA says that some of them are photographs, literally on film photographs. Some of them are composites made in Photoshop, and some of them are digital images taken with a CCD, are equivalent from satellites. That's what they say they are.
So when we're talking real photos of Earth, which ones are we talking about? Can you pull up an example, or would that just be Himawari? Like,
Himawari is a good example. Discover is a good example. Goes West is a good example.
Okay.
ISS is a good example. ISS is near, so you don't get to see the whole Earth. You have to go to one of the far ones to get the far Earth. Right? You seem to very much want to keep driving the conversation into, yeah, but it's fake. Yeah, but it's fake. It's fake. Tonight, I wanted to.
Okay. Well, let me. Okay. Yeah. So let me rephrase then. The fact that it might be real, whatever. Okay. But let's just say, and from my perspective, the fact that it could easily be faked, is just, and I've seen, green screen mistakes and stuff in certain presentations where I can't go back on that and be like, oh no, it's fine. Like I can't go back to sleep on that. You know what I mean? So like that kind of wrapped it up for me when you see too much of that shit, too many inconsistencies in it. It's just like the whole thing falls apart, man. And
Right.
I can
Right.
never, I just can't go back on that because it just like and I don't mean like I feel it in my I don't know how to explain it, but I feel it in my heart that like as soon
Mhm.
as I realized that it wasn't real, I was like, oh fuck. Like it just like when it finally
Right.
clicked, like I don't know how to go back. I don't know how to turn that off. And that's the problem. You know, I get well not that it's a problem in my point of view. I like it, but you know, but that's what happened. So, you
Mhm.
know, so I
I,
just
I
I,
agree
so,
completely. I think.
so when we talk about those as like
Mhm.
evidences and stuff, like it really does. You know.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree 110%. I think that is what you just described
Mhm.
is flat Earth. That is what flat Earth is. Flat Earth is when something something snaps, clicks, and you see that it's all lies. And you carry that now with you. On everything you look at from now on, you see lies.
I would say that that's completely accurate. And then and to that point, you know, some of the other conspiratorial stuff that we, you know, aren't going to talk about. You know, seeing the lies and that sort of stuff and the corruption and stuff and it's like I easily in my head I can just see how it would be so easy to just, you know, just just pull that lie and you know, and just and operate that system.
Mhm.
And it's hard to change my worldview because every time I turn on the news, like it's like, oh, let's see what the CIA wants us to think today. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and I know you guys don't like to talk about that kind of stuff, but that shit's all real, brother. And that's where
Okay.
and that's where I
Not all
can't.
real, but some of
I
it's probably
mean,
real.
dog,
Some
more
of
if
it's
it's
probably real.
okay. Let me say this then. More if it's real than you would possibly ever imagine.
Well,
There's more real than you
remember,
could possibly
back
imagine,
up a
bro.
minute. Back up
I
and remember,
I know.
you see lies because you carry that with you. That's the lenses you're looking at the world through. Just like we saw with the Don Petit video, one person sees it one way, another person sees it another way.
Yeah, I mean, there's
And,
more stuff though.
and there's something really interesting going on here that I think is
Okay,
worth
well,
examining. And
okay, sorry.
and that's when you watch Taboo Conspiracy.
Mhm.
You don't bring your lie lenses. You're not wearing your he's a liar lenses when you watch Taboo Conspiracy. You believe him.
You're absolutely right, and I noticed that I started doing that, and now that's why you know, I reach out more and try and think about stuff more critically when I see it presented, and a lot of my bias stuff, you know, comes from stuff that I haven't, you know, readdressed or like you know, went back to and thought about, and I've just kind of moved on and thought about, you know, new things. So, you know, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, and he never got back to me on that thing.
I'm surprised he hasn't banned you yet.
I haven't heard that he has that kind of reputation, or anything like that. He's always seemed super nice and,
Okay.
so
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really interacted with him much directly.
yeah. Because if he was like a low key shithead, like I don't fuck with low key shitheads. Like, you know, those guys that you asked me about,
Yeah, yeah,
like I don't fuck with those people because they're shitheads. Like, you know
yeah.
what I mean? So, so like if Ben was doing that kind of shit, I wouldn't, you know, and if he is, like, you know, tell me I'll, you know,
Taboo seems like an
he seems like a
fun
genuine
dude,
guy. He
nice
seems like a
guy,
genuine guy.
pleasant
Yeah.
enough. Yeah, he doesn't do that ranting, shouting thing most of the time.
Yeah.
But he seems likable enough.
Yeah, he seems like a good guy, man, and he goes out there and, you know, he actually does, you know, experiments. I don't know, you know, you guys don't consider him that, but he actually goes out and does shit, so, you know, get credit for him for that, at least.
Yeah, yeah. Wasn't he the one who did that 21-mile laser test? Wasn't that his?
He's done some laser tests, some reflection tests. He's done quite a few things that are very interesting, you know. So
Yeah, definitely. But at the same time, I mean, just
I've questioned his claims a couple of times, Sean, and he hasn't banned me. Like, and he's responded to a couple of them, but
okay.
so I don't
That's
have
good
that.
to know. I haven't.
I
I
don't.
haven't.
Yeah, I don't have that experience. If you go there and like be a shithead or something, like I could see getting clapped out. But I've seen people ask questions and not be banned. So I don't know, man. Maybe you were just popping off because seems like you like to do
Well,
that.
maybe he made assumptions about who you are and what your background with him is, as a, you
Mm,
know,
sure.
yeah, that's fair. But yeah, I think that's the only point I wanted to make tonight is that we all bring with us our biases when we watch something. So when I watched Don Petit speak there, sounded like an astronaut talking about the ISS, totally legit. When you watched it, sounded like someone who didn't know what he was talking about, getting caught or something,
Yeah,
like making up stuff.
that's what it sounded like to me. But since it does make sense, according to the lore, it's lore accurate or whatever.
Right.
Since it makes sense like that, then yeah, I guess it's not the proof of a lie, So
Right.
so 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 you're right to say that. Fair enough.
And the other thing is that you're not applying that skepticism evenly. Some folks get the extreme skepticism, I assume you're a liar. Other
Yeah.
folks get the, wow, that's amazing, I assume you're telling me the truth.
Yeah.
And I was talking to like Flat Earth Math some time ago about that, and I said that you don't get to be skeptical about only one side. That's not skepticism,
Hmm.
right? That's
Yeah.
bias.
Right.
If you want to say, "Oh, I'm a skeptic," then okay, cool. You need to be skeptical to everybody.
Yeah.
You
No.
need to say,
Fair enough. How about, I'm trying to be a heliocentric skeptic instead of a flat earther. How about that? Like,
right,
but
and that's
but
cool.
but I'm
I'm
pretty
with
well
you.
rooted in the water thing. But yeah.
I'm
But yeah,
ready to
I'm
be a skeptic with you, but I'm going to require that we be skeptical of everybody equally.
yeah, fair enough, man. That's what I'm trying to get to because I got a lot of trust built up in some of the people that I watch. So yeah, I do that, and I don't check into some certain claims and stuff that I should, and I just kind of give them the benefit. And you're right. You're right.
All right, cool. So that was my agenda for tonight. What do you want to talk about now? Let me give you your
Okay.
time.
Yeah, let me just do a quick thing real quick. So we were talking about they've never claimed that a picture was legit or whatever, right? Or presented a fake picture or whatever, right? And then
There was once actually.
oh,
There
what was
was.
it?
I'm aware of one time when a photo, I believe it was somebody correct me, I forgot who it was. It was one of the astronauts, one of the big early astronauts, like maybe it was Buzz,
Yeah.
was sent out in a press release, and it was not from space. It was PR photos that they had taken on the ground, and somebody in PR had mocked it up to make it look like it was in space and released it to the press. So that
Oh,
definitely happened one
I
time
didn't.
that I'm
Oh, I
aware of.
didn't hear about that one. Did you?
Yeah,
Okay. Well, let me ask you
it
this.
did happen. So
Did you see the BBC leaked footage thing that they rolled out where there was the video of them faking pictures or whatever through the window? Did you see that one? Because that's like official archive footage that got leaked. I'll link you a video
you're not
to it.
talking about on the way to the moon, are you?
I'm not sure what it's from. It's from a BBC like documentary
There
thing.
there was a documentary called "A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon." Is that what you're
Uh,
talking about? Maybe.
no,
Is it,
there's
okay.
it's like a documentary from the BBC. Like
Okay. Well,
it's not.
if you've got a link,
Yeah, 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 yeah. I'll
we
hit
will
you with
all
it.
look at it.
Yeah, I'll hit you with it later because that
Okay.
was a pretty crazy one and it was just like, all right, that's fucking weird that they just admit that. But yeah, it was a whole thing. It was
Yeah.
crazy. So here's a
I s-
picture.
I
So here's.
suspect if you go back and watch that BBC episode again and take this exercise and really practice,
Yeah.
watch it again, saying, what's the Globey gonna say when he watches this? Try to just role play as a Globey. What are you gonna say? And see if you don't come away with a completely different movie, completely different video.
Yeah, I mean it's a pretty damning video. Like like not just from my bias, like Like it's like a mainstream damming, like
Yeah,
where
but you
people are like,
thought,
damn, that's fucked up.
but don't forget, you thought this Smarter Everyday video was damming. And now we see that it wasn't.
Fair enough. I'll send you the video. We'll talk about it then.
So practice that.
Okay.
Practice that.
Fair enough. All right. So let me so there's a link I sent you to a picture of the what is that? The LEM foot lander or what is that? The landing pad thing.
Okay. Boop.
So
We'll pop that up on share.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're sharing it.
All right. So you see how it's kind of like convex or whatever, you know, how it kind of has that bowl shape where it would like, you know, say collect dust if
Okay.
it landed on the moon and then, you know, kicked up a bunch of dust. You would expect dust to at least be inside of that thing, right? There's none. That's kind of weird.
I'm not sure that I do expect that.
Wow, why not?
Why would it? If it came down, right, it's going to come down, it's going to push dust out and away. What's going to allow the dust to curl back up? How does the dust go around and back up like this?
It's just going to kick it out. It's just going to kick it like in all different directions. And when it settles back down, some of it's going to land in that. 100%.
Are you assuming that there's air?
Watch the astronauts jump, like make a jump and walk on the moon. They kick up dust just jumping. So if that thing lands on the moon, 100% it kicks up dust. No fucking way it does.
It wouldn't kick up dust. It would kick up dust,
and it would be in there, bro. Like no,
and the dust
no
would
way.
go up and away, and with no air to push it back, it's just gonna fall back down. So it's gonna go up and away and down.
And it's, dude, and it's gonna fall exactly back into place, and there's not gonna be any dust in there.
It's gonna go outward, out away from the thing that's pushing it.
But look at the picture. That didn't even happen. Like there's no evidence of an impact there. Like just look at it.
I'm not sure what evidence you're hoping you'd see.
Okay, so you see how that guy's footprint like moved the you know, it caved in the ground for one. Right. And that's just the weight of it. Like, what were they weighing? Like 300 pounds with all their equipment. So at 300 pounds, you know, give or take, whatever, makes a big indent like that. It displaces the same or the quote unquote dust. Right. Or, well, it's obviously, you know, some dust. But anyway, it displaces it. Right.
This thing is sunk into the ground somewhere.
It's clearly not. It has a shadow underneath it.
Are you assuming that it's flat?
It looks flat. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah.
What's it look like underneath?
Can't see because it's on the ground, but it's like.
So any assumptions we're making about what's underneath that is just an assumption.
Okay, fair enough. But none of it's
find out.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. This is how you be skeptical, right?
Yeah.
You could find out what that looked like before it hit the ground.
I'm going to. And I'm pretty sure it's not.
Could there be a big old spike on that thing, or I don't know, right?
Possibly. I mean, well, do you know? Let's look. Can we look it up real quick? Just Google LEM schematics. I'm sure it's on Google. And if that landing pad doesn't have, you know, let's see what's up with that.
Landing foot images. Well, is this? I don't know what this is.
That's basically the LEM.
So this is what it looks like. It's got a big dish shape to it with,
okay.
I don't know what that is.
At the bottom part of it's flat though.
But look at this dish.
Yeah,
where's the rest of it?
Okay.
This one looks like it's kind of dished, but this one looks pretty flat. Like maybe this side sunk in pretty deep right here, right? Where it's, you know, kind of got dust up along the edge. Kind of looks like that went in deep there and not as deep on here. Is that what you think?
You know what? I didn't even realize the what you're talking about. Like I see it now that you just said it.
See if there's any other...
I didn't even see that. How it is kind of pressed in on that a little bit. But you would think that there would be more, you know, it would be more, right? Or something, because you know, it hits. It weighs.
Is this a hard thing or is this a soft thing?
I can't imagine it's hard.
Go away, history. I think it must be a soft thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it can't be. It would snap or whatever. Like, you know.
Yeah, that doesn't look strong enough that it would be a firm thing.
Yeah. Okay, so you can kind of see under there. It looks like the bottom of it is pretty flat. But yeah, okay, so it does look like it's in there a little bit on that side.
So
So
on this
that's
side, it
only
sunk in almost all the way. Maybe like almost, I'll say almost all the way. And this side, it's kind of rising up.
yeah, and we really don't know if they just packed it around that either. Like, because here's the thing, like, so let's say it did like land like that and it it is imprinted because clearly it looks that way. The fact that there's none inside of it, no dust inside of it is crazy, man.
Well,
Like there would have to
that's
be,
what I've been trying to explain. Why would there be dust inside? How would dust make its path? Right, the dust was kicked out right here. Let's see this particle of dust. When this thing came down, it was pushed. Boom! It's pushed this way, right?
Okay, so let's watch what happens when the astronauts jump on the moon then, because if that dust is different than what would be on the lander, one of those people aren't on the moon.
Okay,
because it's not so then the dust is inconsistent with what the astronauts experience when they are jumping around
on the moon. See if we can get some videos of somebody walking on the moon. I don't know.
I have a clip if we can't get it. Hold on one second.
If you've got a clip you want to share, here's a dude kicking some dust.
One sec, I can pull one up.
Right? Yeah, he kicks dust.
Hold on, I got you. One sec. There's a even better one.
You want to show something?
Yeah. 1 second. Let me just find the timestamp.
What I want to draw your attention to about the dust, is that at no time will the dust blow around. It will not reverse direction. It will not drift. It will just fall straight back down to the ground. Well, not straight. I mean, it falls along the direction that it's kicked up.
1 second. There's a timestamp there.
Okay. Let's get that over here.
They're just gonna call you a silk.
There you go. Yeah. Look at the dust. All the dust flies away from the boots.
No, you can just pause it. That was the clip. So that's I don't know, man.
Okay.
It looks like what it just looks like it looks like what it would normally do, on Earth. It just looks like it's being
kicked like sand.
It looks like it's being kicked up. Yeah, it looks like a sand or like that real fine dirt for like a baseball field.
But it doesn't,
like, how it's kind of powdery.
No, but with real fine dust, it blows around.
Right. Yeah, it does seem more sandy.
But this does not.
True.
And I think that's what you're expecting.
So, well, how could you make a footprint like that if the sand wasn't wet? Like, wouldn't the sand have to be wet to make it like that? Because that's a hell of a footprint in sand, bro.
Yeah, it is pretty interesting. It's because moon dust is different from Earth dust. Mythbusters did it. I think it was Mythbusters did it. If not, I can go and find you a really nice video. I'm sure I can.
I've seen a debunking video on the Mythbuster presentation, and the thing with their are you talking about where they simulate jumping on the moon and the 1/5 gravity type thing or whatever?
Because that one the same episode.
Yeah, because if it's that one, the one thing that they didn't do was what was it? Play it at half speed with a guy on wires. I forget what it was, but the one thing that they didn't do is what is claimed how it's filmed. But I don't remember specifically. But I wouldn't trust those people. I don't really trust. But yeah, I'm familiar with what you're talking about though.
Yeah. Okay. I mean that's my take on it.
Yeah.
I would say my first instinct, based on living here on the Earth, is that, a bunch of dust got kicked up when that thing landed. And I'd be surprised here on Earth if some of that dust didn't fill in, didn't fall back in to the cup. But if I stop and think about it, I might realize that on the moon, it would not.
Yeah.
And because there's no atmosphere to carry that dust back into the cup.
Yeah, like it didn't slide or nothing. Like it just, I don't know, man. I don't know. I see what you're
I don't
saying, but
know,
it's just,
but
I mean, look, I mean, your explanation is consistent with your lore, I guess, but I don't know, man. It just seems like there'd be at least one fucking dust particle in there, bro. At least one, man.
What is this right here? What is this gray color? How come this is not gold?
I mean, yeah, that's what we were talking about earlier. Where
What's going on here? Why is this not the gold color?
And it's just right there on the edge too. Like
I don't know. I have no answer. I'm asking a question. I don't have an answer. It's not a gotcha question.
No. I know. I'm working through it. I'm sorry. The way I'm talking is like I'm working through it. I'm not like, Anyway, so what I'm saying is, it looks like it could have possibly just been packed around that half of it, because it's so tightly packed around the edges of it. Like you would think it would be in the fucking in that saran wrap lining there, like it would hit that and roll off or something. Like there would be some collected around like the more center point, because it would slide off of the saran wrap, right? Like it seems
a significant amount of dust pile. What I think I'm looking at is I think the foil ripped right here. I think these are tears in the foil.
Do you think it's weird that they use foil for that?
No, not at all. Because I understand what it's for.
What's it for?
It's to reflect the light. It's to reflect heat. To reflect heat from the sun. It's reflective tape. That's all it is.
Interesting.
Super light, very thin film, just enough to reflect the heat of the light.
Huh.
That's all.
Dave, this isn't a debate, buddy. This is just two guys talking about shit and working stuff out. Like, I'm not.
Yeah, Dave Sims. If you want to talk to me, shoot me an email. My email is icanscience@gmail.com. We can talk. We'll set something up. Maybe you can have your say.
Yeah, man, he's a legit dude. If you want to ask some shit or present your side of it, he'll hit you back. So
on this, one of the things I like to say is that this is a meme,
right?
And memes convey neither knowledge nor truth. You heard me say that before, I think.
I've heard you say that, and I super disagree.
There's no truth in memes. If you want to find truth, then take this meme as a starting point and go answer those questions. Ask the question: why is this footprint so distinct like that? It looks like wet sand would do, right? Why does it look like that? Go and find that answer. Don't take the meme as if it provides the answer. It does not.
Bro, do you ever think that NASA, like, who do I ask? Like, you're literally the only person.
Well,
if I emailed fucking NASA right now, like, you think they would answer me? And, or would tell me
on moon distinct. Those are the words I used. And let's see if we fact check. Moon landing conspiracy misrepresents mismatch between the boot. Look what I found in the first one. Just read that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just see what people say. Are there really footprints on the moon? That might be interesting. Photos with a different view. I'd have to try some different things.
We could look at like NASA official moon landing footprints, right? NASA official moon, because I'm pretty sure that they look like that too. And because that's what you're saying, right? That the footprint isn't the same one. Because I'm telling you right now, if you Google, it's like, you just Google that and you read that first part, like, dog, if you believe them like that and they're lying, like, you would never look into it further. Because there's pictures from NASA of their boot prints and shit, and like they like that meme's not inaccurate on the thing on the meme.
So here's a question. This is what I'm saying. I'm not trying to prove that this is true, right? I'm just
Yeah.
trying to explore the idea of, if you want the answer, the meme does not provide it, but you could go and look and find at least what people say, right?
I'm on the NASA gallery right now. Let me see if I can find some footprints.
Okay. But yeah, like here's one I found that says, with no surface moisture or atmospheric pressure on the moon, what force or magic holds the dust particles so compactly together? This is what you're asking, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that didn't take me very long to find, is what I'm pointing out. Is, well, you don't have to agree that the answer is correct, but the answer was offered.
Let's
And
see
the meme did not offer this answer.
Let's see what their answer is.
Okay. Okay. On Earth, you get the clearest footprints, which last longest when the particles adhere to each other much more than they do to the sole of your boot. Furthermore, the self-adhesion of the particles is responsible for the footprint retaining its shape over time. So what they just said is the particles must be attracted to each other in order to get a footprint like that. Okay.
Oh, remind me to ask you about particles when we wrap this part up real quick, because I got a quick one on that.
So if you make a boot print in sand on the beach, the shape of the impression will immediately change once your boot is gone, because sand likes to flow down hills. Yeah, I agree with that. There is a maximum steepness to a hill of, I would say, dry sand, yeah. And if a hill is any steeper than that, the sand will level out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Sand flows in this way because the grains are large and the cohesive forces between sand grains are small. And I would add, I don't think this one adds, but if you look for other answers, you'll also find sand grains are round.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that? That I've just added sand grains are round.
Sure.
Okay. Gravity pulls down on sand grains. You don't want to call it gravity, but the downity, whatever makes things go down.
I mean, you could say gravity. I'm not a fucking...
Okay, pulls down on sand grains, and they will rearrange themselves until the forces balance out. If you wet the sand, you increase the cohesive forces between the grains because water is electrically polarized and attracts the sand grains electrostatically, wetting them. Other fluids may have the opposite effect. Okay, so that's why here on Earth you need to wet the sand to get it to stick, because the water has surface tension.
Right. Yeah. No, I read the moon part, like, because sorry.
Okay.
I didn't mean to waste your time.
There is a layer a few meters deep of very, very fine rocky dust with the consistency of dry talcum powder. Individual grains are smaller than usual sand grains. And I don't think they say it, but they're also not rounded. They're very jagged. The cohesive forces are small, but on the moon, gravity is also quite low. Oh yeah, the force that caused it to level out on the beach is 1/6 that on the moon. So it's going to level out 1/6 as much. Okay. What's important is the relative size of the electrostatic cohesive forces and the weight of each particle of dust. And it appears from the fact that the footprint doesn't collapse under its own weight that the cohesive forces win out. So what do we got here? Lower gravity, because it is gravity that causes things to smooth like that. So you expect that. Much smaller dust particles. And I've added that they're jagged, so they kind of get stuck on each other more. They don't roll on each other like sand does.
Yeah.
And then this last one that they talk about, the electrostatic forces. They don't really go into it here, but if you dig more, you'll find that when the astronauts got back to the lunar lander, they were absolutely covered in the dust because the dust would stick. It would stick to anything. And so it was very, very sticky dust. And that's how those boot prints happen.
Oh, one sec here. So you agree that it should be it should look a little distorted from the gravity, right? Like it shouldn't have that 1-to-1 perfect representation of the boot,
Well,
right? So if you look at
wait,
that,
hold on now. Do you
okay,
think this is a one-to-one perfect representation?
I think that it's pretty. I think I th-
Do you not
okay.
see rounded edges here? I do. Do you not see bumps and pebbles and things? Let me put it to you in a
One
different
sec.
way.
It,
Do you
it's
think they made this on a soundstage with wet sand? What do you think they did?
I don't know.
Because they made this boot print, right?
Yeah,
You think they made it on Earth?
yeah, would probably be wet sand then if it
But
holds like that.
oh, okay, so hold on. They made a boot print on Earth that doesn't look like they made it on Earth.
No,
Therefore, it's
to
fake.
to me it looks like it looks like it would look like if it was on Earth. Like there's no, it doesn't look
Oh,
distorted enough to me
right. It doesn't look distorted enough.
to be differentiated between. So I don't. So I it just it's suspicious. Like
Okay.
it looks like they tried to get a good PR shot.
Okay.
And that's why it's so preserved, because it just looks too crisp. Like the fine lines. Look how solid the lines are, and that it just, I don't know, it just seems way too solid.
This
Like
is the thing that always blows my mind when I talk
the
to
the straight
conspiracy theorists. Is it okay if I call
lines.
you a conspiracy theorist?
Whatever you want, man.
Okay. Is that you're trying to explain to me
Mhm.
that the reason you know this was not made on the moon is because it does not look like it was made on Earth.
I'm saying that the explanation that you just read, right, about how the footprint wouldn't look, so preserved because of the 1/6 gravity, like it would lose its form, right?
It would lose its form much less on the moon than it does on the Earth.
Right. And then if you look at those straight lines, like the treads of the boot, right? Look how like those are so straight. They haven't lost any form. So to me,
Haven't
it
lost
looks
any. No, you can't measure that. You have no information to measure
fair,
the exact angle, right?
fair enough. But from my perspective,
It
then
doesn't look as smooth as you expected it to.
yeah, it looks too clean, man. So
Okay, so they were trying to fool you. And in order to fool you, they made a boot print that looks fake. Is that what you're trying to say?
I mean, they made a boot print and they present it and they tell everyone it's legit. And if you question it, you're a conspiracy theorist retard, right? So that's
No,
that's that's
no,
kind of how the game works.
no,
Because
no,
that
no.
boot
Hold on.
isn't indicative of anything.
Your theory that you're putting forth
Yeah,
is that they faked it
yeah.
and they made it look fake on purpose, because if they'd have just put a boot into some sand, it wouldn't look like this.
No, that's exactly what it would look like.
Wait, you think this is how a boot print on Earth would look?
With wet sand or dust or whatever material they use to do it, like how it retained its form kind of gives it away that it's not dust on the moon.
Wait,
Because it
wait,
maintains.
hold on, hold on.
What?
You think they used wet sand?
I'm just some material that
Some
would
material.
that would retain a footprint, right? It would most likely would be wet or moist or something, right? They
were trying to show what it would look like if it was completely dry.
Yes.
And you're saying it looks like it was wet. Wouldn't it have been better? Like here's the thing I like to do. I like to play Dr. Evil.
Go ahead.
Let's say you're Dr. Evil and you want to fake the moon landings. And so you hire some guys to make moon boot prints on the moon and film them. And these guys come back and they say, I'm going to wet the sand so it makes a really fake looking boot print. Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you hire guys to make realistic looking boot prints?
You'd think.
Right. And the fact that they don't look like you expect them to look is somehow evidence, not evidence that your expectation was wrong, but evidence that they must have faked it. I think, Dr. Evil, it's time to push the button and flush somebody down into the fire, because you're surrounded by friggin' idiots.
I don't think you're understanding what. Hold on.
Well, no, seriously. Okay, what are you trying to say? That okay, we're gonna fake some boot prints. So hey guys, we're gonna fake some boot prints.
Yes.
So just boot print, make a boot print.
However they faked it is irrelevant. Whether it's wet, moist, sand, dust, doesn't matter. The boot print is fake, and the fact that it maintains its rigidity when it's supposed to be dry dust and stuff, and it wouldn't make sharp straight lines like that. It wouldn't do that.
Right, exactly. And so this is what I'm saying.
And the fact that it does it's a bullshit picture. That's what I'm saying. I don't understand how you're not getting it.
I'm not getting it because you're not playing along with me.
Yeah.
Imagine I'm Dr. Evil. You be like number 2, right? I'm gonna hire you. I say I want you to go make some boot prints, some fake moon prints that I can show in the pictures to prove that we were there, to fool all these idiots, right? And you go and you make this boot print.
Yeah.
I'm flushing you down the fire.
You make an ambiguous boot
because
print,
this boot print
you couldn't tell the difference.
Looks fake.
I don't know.
You faked a boot print, and you couldn't just just make a real boot print, dude. It's free. It doesn't cost anything, right? Just make a real boot print. And take a picture of it.
That's a real boot print, but not on the moon. Like, I don't know what you're talking about.
How do you know it's not on the moon?
Because what they just explained in that thing we read, that footprint wouldn't look as sharp as it does, right? Like, that's what I'm saying.
No, I don't understand how you're coming with that. The boot print should look much sharper on the moon than it does on Earth. That's what it said.
No shit, did it? I misunderstood. I thought, dude, I kind of spaced out. I thought it said, dude, no shit. I thought that it said the reverse.
No,
that's hilarious. Because that's why I was
gravity pulls down on sand grains, right?
No. We're talking
on the
about
moon.
Yeah. Okay.
There's less gravity.
Right.
Gravity is also quite low. Also, the sand grains on Earth are much larger than they are on the moon. That's what they say. They say the cohesive forces win out because its weight is much less. Right? It says right here, the footprint does not collapse under its own weight. Why not?
Oh, dude, I completely
1/6 gravity.
All right, I completely breezed over that. My interpretation of what they were saying was how I was presenting it. My bad. Okay, so consistent with the lore again, I guess.
Right. So consistent with the lore. Absolutely. Okay. And by the way, absolutely every single thing you're ever going to find out there is consistent with the lore.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know,
How many
man.
things have you thrown at just me? How many things have you personally tossed at me to see if it was consistent with the lore?
It's been quite a few things.
Ever find anything that doesn't seem consistent with the lore?
1 sec. I mean, yeah, there's some stuff, but I don't like go back and argue with you about it.
Okay. Well,
I'd have to look back, but there's some stuff where I'm just like, okay, fair enough. Like, or if it reaches the limit of my understanding, like I don't press back on it, or if I don't fully understand what was presented to me, but it was interesting and I was asking you about it, like I don't press it on some stuff. Right. But so yeah, to say that everything you've said, checks out with the lore. I would say that's pretty accurate, but there's other things that that I don't understand or whatever, and I might not be presenting the whole side of it.
I think that's fair.
So it's all good. But yeah,
Yeah, I know there's been times when I presented something and you said, yeah, but I kind of got the feeling that you were just going along with it because you couldn't really prove that I was wrong. That didn't mean I was right.
yeah, and I don't want to like, have a weird back and forth with you where it's like,
Right. Okay.
so I'm just like, that's why when that guy was saying, oh, this guy's fake for saying, oh, fair enough and stuff. Like, I'm not trying to argue with you, I'm just trying to hear your side of it. So I'm just like, okay, all right, and then I'll come back to it later and see what's up.
Let me ask you.
I can think about it more. What's up?
As we've investigated various flat Earth claims, are they consistent with the lore?
I mean, it's hard to say because there's no real like, model for it. There's like different there's different things that people believe, and the Arctic Basin, like I kind of believe that or at some level on how it works. It's definitely most likely something like that, in my opinion. I don't but yeah, there's not like a lot of it is just people talking about different ways that it could possibly work,
Right.
That's the way that I interpret it now, rather than the approach where, because there's some people that claim like this is it, this is how it works, and I'm trying to get back to a place where it's like, could it work that way? Like, I like that sort of interesting aspect of it now, because I really don't know, and I don't think that there's a way to for me to tell you, or for me to
Right.
say to say that their presentation is not accurate, because I don't know like what they're testing against. But it's just like, are they,
Yeah.
there's no like official thing to compare it against. You know what I'm saying?
I haven't really been keeping up with the chat, but I know Dave Sims is in there, and I think Dave Sims is stressing the importance of falsifiability.
Mhm.
How do you feel about that, Alan?
The falsifiability thing?
Yeah. Like, if a claim is not falsifiable, then it's not science.
Oh, yeah, I'm kind of on board with that, man, because you could say, because like, for example, when we talk about the atmosphere and stuff, and you use the Earth's atmosphere as the example, like what can I do with that? You know what I mean? Like, how could I prove it's not,
Oh, okay. Like the famous,
or rather, how could you prove that it does, like on a smaller scale? You know what I mean? Other than the scale that I can't, possibly interact with, more or less. Does that make sense?
I'm not sure. I mean, I think I remember we talked about the pressure differential.
Yeah.
And I told you that all I have to do is turn on my barometer on my phone and walk up the stairs and it'll drop.
No, that's not.
You don't mean that?
No, that's not what I mean. Not what I mean.
Okay. Yeah. I think that it's fair that if something cannot be, if it's unfalsifiable, meaning there is no way to test it,
Yeah.
then you can't science it. That's what sciencing something means.
Yeah. Well, see, I think somewhere along the way, you guys have gotten, tricked with things that you can't measure, but because it works out on math from our perspective here, that you guys are like, all right, we're definitely onto something, but it's been subverted, so.
Yeah, I know that's what you think.
Yeah.
Does the flat Earth have anything like that? Is there any way to test anything?
I mean, they do, measurements or whatever, but you guys always argue refraction and stuff. So I don't know. Like, you've made some good points on it, and they've made some good points on it. And honestly, I can't, I don't know what would be a good test of that, so.
Okay. Yeah, I just think it's a good place to start is, if somebody has a claim, we should ask, is it testable? Like, is it even theoretically testable?
Yeah.
And if it is not, then I'm ready to just say, that's a cool story, bro, but you can't test it, so whatever, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Well, see,
You know,
so you
we're
know
living
how
in a simulation. Can you
so
test that?
so you know how you guys you like the Eratosthenes thing with the
Uh-huh.
shadows and the sticks and stuff.
Yeah.
So I seen a video from a guy. I don't know if you've ever heard of this guy. His name is Decimal Z or Doctor Z or something like that. I don't think he's made anything flat Earth related lately or
Sounds familiar. I
whatever.
think I heard about Dr. Z.
But
Okay.
but yeah, he made this video and it's a really well done video and he breaks down and he does the experiment and he also models it and he shows you, you know, side by side the breakdown of what he does. He basically mathematically makes a table appear to be flat when you add the lens of the atmosphere and because Aristosthenes or whatever didn't account for that because they didn't know about refraction then. So it's like, how did any of this shit even work? You know, like how is that? How are we still on this, or how is that still like the accepted experiment when you could do the same thing on a flat surface and
Because that's a lie, Alan.
you could make it? How?
Because you were lied to and you weren't critical of it. We did it here on this channel. We had 30 participants do a similar experiment, and it was very conclusive. It cannot, anyone who tells you it works equally on flat and round is not being honest. They know that it's not true, but they tell it to you, and then you bring your bias with you.
1 second. Yeah, I remember that thing you did.
Yeah, we did it. You saw. I'm sure you saw the data.
I did, and that guy did make a nice website.
And let me tell you, I didn't watch the video you're talking about, but
yeah.
I know what they said because it's a con, and I know the con. It
Can
goes
you
like
explain
this.
it? Explain it.
It goes like this. With two observers, like Eratosthenes took two cities, and he assumed the light from the sun was parallel. Based on that assumption, he calculated a radius of the Earth. But if the sun was close, those light rays would not be parallel, and the Earth would be flat.
That's similar to what it was, but there was more to it, and it involved when he added a lens for the atmosphere. That's when it really made things interesting. Maybe it's a 20-minute video.
Okay.
And you know, I don't expect you to watch all that shit, but I think his was more legit, and he had a bunch of, you know, math that I don't really stand, but I get the triangles and shit. Like, but it's like I mean, I feel like he did it. I feel like his video was honest. I know what you're talking about in that sort of presentation. But this wasn't that though. This was
okay.
This
I
was
was wrong
different.
then. I was wrong
Yeah.
to judge him. Maybe he wasn't that. The only other explanation, someone who takes it and actually engages with it, and isn't trying to con you, will recognize that.
Bro, if this Decimal Z video is trying to con me, like if I link it to you and you check it out or whatever, like that's fucking fucked up, man. Like I would like that would be a pretty big blow. Because that's showing that something like that's mathematically possible is another thing that really
it is
interests me.
Possible. It is possible that there is a unknown refractive effect that makes it look like it's a globe. Exactly.
See, there's a guy, dog. That's funny you mentioned.
Do you find that even slightly worth listening to?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that.
Yeah. See, why would anybody say, no, it's flat, but it totally looks like a globe? Because there's this trick of the refraction that makes it look exactly like a globe, even though it's actually flat.
I mean, I'll link you the video, and if it's fucking fake bullshit, then like that's pretty fucked up because it seems super reasonable and not where it's trying to be over biased. You know what I mean? Like it's a really good presentation, I thought.
Yeah, send it to me. I'll take a look maybe.
Thanks, man.
I definitely, like I looked at Corey's. I looked at Corey's stuff.
Dude, you went hard on Corey's, man. Like I was impressed.
I
Like
don't think Corey is deliberately lying.
Yeah, I don't either, man.
But he's taking barrels full of bias with him into everything that he does.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you heard that my favorite part of the whole interview was when I pointed out that he was highlighting 6 degrees that the globe was off, but when the flat Earth was off by 30 degrees, he was okay with it.
Breezed by him. Oh shit, that's unfortunate. Well, I think he may have what did he say? I don't know. Yeah, that's fucked up. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just bias. It's just tons and tons of bias.
Yeah.
And I think we could all really, myself included, could use, something to help us check our biases.
Yeah.
So, hey, before we go, you wanted to talk about particles?
Oh yeah. So there was a video going out. It was like some guy giving a lecture or some shit. One of those professor types. He's giving this lecture and he says that particles don't actually exist; they're waves.
Right. Okay.
Is that true, or like what is that? Because I tried to Google, a particle, obviously, and they're all cartoony and stuff. So like, is it a way to model like what's happening because it's waves though? And then to follow up on that, if they are actually waves, how could light be a particle and a wave if it's just a double wave? Because that seems like a real trick, and I know a lot of stuff is dependent on that. So
yeah.
So what's up with that?
It is advanced stuff. So to start off, it's very advanced. We're talking grad school material here. It's maybe introduced in like high school and undergrad. Yeah, it was introduced. I'm going to say we definitely did a little bit of it in undergrad. So don't act like everybody's supposed to know this, right?
Yeah. No, I just heard of it the other day and I was like, oh, that's fascinating because I've looked into, particles and atoms and stuff before and they all seem to be, computer generated. And you know how I feel about that.
Right. Well, they are mostly computer generated. We won't get into that. Okay. Particle versus wave. The brief history of waves and particles, really quick.
Yeah.
Isaac Newton, he sees light coming, from the sun, light going through a vacuum. And he says, this must be a stream of some kind of particle, right? It's flying. He called it corpuscular theory. Somebody else looked at it and they said, hey, look at this light. If I pass it through a tiny little slit, it reacts like a wave going through a slit.
Oh, with the interference pattern, right?
It makes interference patterns. That's right. And so Huygens says it's a wave. And Newton says, no, it can't be a wave. It's got to be a particle. And so they have this big fight. And after many, many experiments, they determine light is in fact a wave. It diffracts, it refracts, it interferes. Interference is a real thing.
Yeah. Well, doesn't it also come from a spectrum that's a wave? Like, isn't it electromagnetic? So it's kind of like it's almost like a no-brainer. Like, it's a wave. Because if a particle was hitting
today,
you,
it seems like a no-brainer.
Right.
And then along
it's true. Yeah.
Max Planck actually sort of accidentally discovered it, but his was just a trick of the math. Max Planck was doing some math, and he couldn't make the math work, so he cheated. And he sort of said, imagine light was a particle, is what he said. I'm super paraphrasing here. And it worked. It made his math, it fixed his math. And so he's like, I don't know why, but yeah. And then came Einstein. It's not his most well-known work, but it's what he got his Nobel Prize for. Einstein was making solar cells, basically. And he discovered that as you shine light on the metal plate, it'll kick off an electron sometimes, right? And he discovered that light only kicks off electrons like one at a time. Long story short, he figured out that even though light is a wave, these waves come in indivisible packages. Does that make sense? We call them photons, right?
Yeah.
And so it is a wave, but with a wave, you could say, oh, make the wave a little smaller, make the wave a little smaller, make it a little smaller, right? And it can just keep going smaller, smaller, smaller. Einstein discovered that as you keep making it smaller and smaller, it gets to where you can't make it any smaller. It's either here or it's not here. So you're getting these, like you can get it down to where you can get one photon at a time. You get a little wave packet that goes blink,
So
blink.
one wave or one, like, so when they say a photon, you think particle, right? But it's actually like one singular wave of light.
Right.
Okay.
So it is.
Because I kind of wondered about that. Like,
wave particle duality, meaning it is both a wave and a particle.
Yeah.
So particle in the sense that it's indivisible. You can make something that you can't chop it down anymore.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Does that make sense?
Wasn't that what a wave was? Because because you can split it down to one and then that's a wrap.
So the thing with a classical wave, you can always make a smaller wave.
Right.
Right. But what Einstein discovered was that you cannot make a smaller wave of light past a certain point. It just stops. You can't make it smaller anymore.
So do other things have actual particles, or is all the other stuff pretty much waves?
Well, then, so at that point, the world was kind of upended, and quantum mechanics was kind of born. Where that's what a quantum means in quantum mechanics. It means something that's not divisible anymore.
Yeah.
And we start working with light as a quanta, and then I believe it was de Broglie who postulated that
Dude, I like when people postulate.
Particles of matter are waves and particles at the same time, just like light is. And he did some math. And then here's the thing about the math. He did some math. The math makes a prediction, right? The math says, if you're right, this will happen. And then someone goes and builds that experiment. And what they did was they shoot electrons. Now, electrons are made of matter. And they shoot individual electrons through a diffraction grate. And they diffract. And that proves that they are in fact waves. And yet we already knew that they were indivisible particles. Does that make sense?
Say that last part again.
Well, we had already known for many years, we had already known that electrons are indivisible particles. They have mass, they have electric charge, and they cannot be divided. You can get more electric charge by adding more electrons, right? But you can't like have half an electron. There's no such thing.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah, okay.
So it's a quanta. We already knew that it was a quantized thing. We picture it as like a little ball. We imagine that it's a little ball. But if you shoot an electron through a tiny little slit, you'll see that it diffracts like it was a wave. And that's kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah.
But
so let me ask,
at that point, though, we reflect back and we go, yeah, we learned that about light, though. Light is a quanta that acts like a wave. Electrons are a quanta that act like a wave. And then they started going, what else is a quanta that acts like a wave? And discovered everything is a quanta that acts like a wave.
Fuck. So that's super interesting. Okay, so one more follow up on that. Shit, what was it? Oh yeah. So the other day I just heard of this thing called the Lenz's law or whatever about the you move an electric or a magnet across an electric conductor and it makes an electricity or whatever. Electron produces electrons. So the guy had a copper pipe or whatever, and he was holding it vertically, and he drops the ball through. So is it create? So what's slowing the magnet ball down? It's creating particles, and it's like, and that's causing like what's happening with that? Because that's crazy.
Okay. In classical physics, like old school physics, moving a magnetic field creates an electric current, or an electric charge, I should say. And so if you move a magnetic field, like a magnet, through, say, a copper tube, that generates an electric current perpendicular to the motion of the magnet. That's how generators work, right? That's how, you crank it and it generates electricity. That's how it works.
Fascinating.
So you're basically making a little generator. It's a little electric generator. You drop the magnet through the tube, and the electric current goes around the copper tube. And a moving electric charge creates a magnetic field in the opposite, in the perpendicular direction.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they did explain that. You're right. I forgot about that. I was thinking of the. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's fine. You got it. I mean, so that's what you're seeing is that.
Yeah, that's just fascinating. Yeah, because I was trying to apply the concept of it being a particle or whatever.
Okay, so then how do we think of that in terms of a particle? Again, just trying to make like a understandable explanation of it. The electric field is communicated by photons. What does that even mean? When
by waves?
When two electrons get near each other, they are pushed apart. Right? We know that, right?
Yeah.
How does that work? Classically, we just imagined that it was an inverse square law, or well, that's what we measured. We measured on the macroscopic scale that is an inverse square law. The closer they are, the more force they repel. But if you get it down to where there's individual little particles, you're going to find that the force between them is also quantized. That
shit, dude. See, that's why people think we live in a simulation, dog. Because the shit, dude, it's so because before or when we last talked, I've kind of changed my perspective on like how reality works, and I think it's more of some sort of wave simulation or something like that. Like I don't know, it's so fucking crazy because that stuff's nuts, man. And you guys are
it's absolutely nuts.
Like that's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, I think even a lot of legit scientists are willing to entertain the idea that we're living in a simulation, and that's why things work like this, because it's like some kind of like binary type of machine that can only represent certain discrete values.
Yeah.
And so
there's like rules to it, like it's really
down. We're getting down to the metal of our machine that we're living in.
Yeah.
It's
crazy, dude.
It's really interesting, and the fact is we don't really know why it does this. There's no one answer for why things work this way. There's at least 5 possible like explanations for why we imagine the world works this way. But what all the scientists agree on is the world does work this way, because we do the experiments and we see that it's reproducible. This is what happens. It's not just some kind of trick of the math. We do the math makes a prediction, we design an experiment based on that prediction, and then we get our answer. And it's like, wow, you mean the world really works that way? And yeah, all scientists are ultimately kind of baffled by it. But that's the way it is.
Yeah. Interesting, man. That's fucking crazy.
It is
So,
crazy. It's
uh,
crazy.
I got one more if you got time.
Okay, okay.
All right. So the rings on Saturn are dust, right?
The dust and chunks of rock, yeah,
Okay.
and
So
ice.
and we see them because light hits them and reflects back and hits us, right?
Yes.
And it bends all, and it's like thin or whatever, and it bends all around the planet. But we see the rings like in their entirety. Would you expect there, like, if it was reflecting light that we're seeing, would you expect to not see the rings as wholly illuminated as we do? Because it seems like they're like it gives off its own light, you know?
Um, if there's a dark patch on the ring, I would ask, what is shadowing it?
I don't know. I mean, how do we even know it's a shadow, man?
Well, if you had a disc, a flat disc,
Mhm.
isn't it uniformly lit? I mean, do I have a disc around?
No, yeah. A flat disk would be uniformly lit. Well, that's another thing with the moon too. And full moons, those are the moon's uniformly lit. Doesn't that?
No, it
I mean,
isn't.
you don't think so? Have you
Not at
ever
all. I mean, the moon is definitely not uniformly lit.
on a full moon?
Oh, on a full moon, you can fool yourself into believing that it's uniformly lit, but it's
Okay.
still not.
Is there any way that we could verify that it's not fully illuminated the way that? Because it's super illuminated all the way to the edges. Like that's
Well, you take a very high quality
what.
photo of the moon, and those
Mhm.
are available. You just download one, and then you take photo editing software, and you sample, and you say, how bright is this spot? How bright is that spot? How bright is that spot? And I'm saying you will find that the center of the moon is brighter than the edges of the moon.
But for it to even be wholly illuminated the way it is, isn't that weird in and of itself? Because wouldn't the light still have to hit it at a specific angle? And then the
Mhm.
fact that we all see it from any angle on the Earth, from our perspective, it's full. Like it just reflects back perfectly. Like that's why it's a simulation, man. Because that shit doesn't make any sense.
Well, I'll tell you
That's
what,
crazy.
it may be a simulation, but if it's a simulation, it's a simulation of a heliocentric solar system with a moon orbiting around us, because that is exactly what it looks like. I mean, if you go ahead and dig in and you grab yourself, and I've actually done it. If you dig through my videos on my site, you'll see I did it at one point. I got a high quality picture of the moon at a full moon, and then I went into photo editing and I went and looked to see just how full was it. And I discovered it was only 98.6, I think, percent or something like that. It was not 100% full. And you could see that one edge of the moon was not all the way lit.
That's interesting. I'll have to look at that video because I was just thinking about this recently. Uh, So yeah, okay.
Yeah, and if you look into the literature on it, you'll see that the moon, most months, you don't get 100% full moon. It's very rare to get 100% perfectly full moon. We just call it full when it's the fullest it's going to get.
Yeah, so I would just argue then that, it's full beyond the point where I think it's would be that it's reflecting off of a spherical object. I think
Well,
I think I
but if you
think
do the numbers, right? If you just check the numbers, this is what I do, right? Just check the numbers. Say, okay, this doesn't look right. Let's check the numbers. You check the numbers and you go, oh, well, okay, it's right.
yeah,
Every time.
I'll watch your video because it's
Yeah,
interesting. Okay.
so far every time.
Yeah.
That's
So
the way it is.
so the Venus or so the Saturn rings work out and everybody can see them from every angle and the light's always reflecting back to everyone.
Well, let me posit you this thinking.
Hmm.
If the rings of Saturn were a disk that were reflecting the sun's light, then the entire ring should have the same brightness, right?
I'm sorry.
Except
Yeah.
if something were to shadow it. And I can think of something near those rings that's pretty big that I would expect to cast a shadow from time to time.
Oh, the moons or whatever.
How about Saturn itself?
That too, yeah.
So are there
Is there
orientations?
a ring shadow on Saturn too?
Why don't you go Google that?
I mean, from
Shadows?
the things I've looked at on YouTube, where it's like a video of someone zooming in with their telescope, and not from like NASA or like a quote unquote satellite, where it's just completely horseshit. The guy looking through the satellite, it looks perfectly like evenly, you know, like there's nothing weird going on. Then there's no
Right.
shadows.
I mean,
have to.
I'll screen share it for you. I'm sure you're just going to say horseshit, but
Yeah. Super high chance. Oh yeah, horseshit, bro. Yeah, that's yeah. No, that's horseshit.
yeah, I mean, you're not going to get something like that with a backyard telescope.
Yeah, or I mean, dog. You think that's real?
This is from Voyager. Yeah.
You think Voyager's real? So okay,
Absolutely.
so I was watching this video recently, real quick. It was some NASA lady explaining how they reactivated Voyager, one of the Voyagers or whatever, and how it communicates with 1/millionth of 1/billionth of a wattage or whatever. And then there's also, you can just Google articles, invisible force field around Earth that blocks electrons or some shit. So how is
Okay, yeah.
I mean, that's part of the mainstream narrative, that there's this invisible shield that blocks electrons, and then, like, you know, regular background static or whatever it's called, the ground floor, or you know what I'm talking about, like the like the bass background noise or whatever. So how is a 1/1 billionth of a watt coming through at 7 billion miles through an impenetrable shield that blocks electrons, and then we can all like see, that's why that picture is horseshit. Like, because it comes from
Doesn't send electrons.
what is it? How? Okay.
Photons. Photons are how we communicate the electric signal. Photons, not electrons.
Interesting. So okay. So with 1/1 billionth of a watt power, it has enough power to send a photon back to Earth.
Just barely.
Bro, just barely, bro. Come on.
Yeah, we're still in communication with it. Yeah.
Shoot, just barely, bro. I don't know, man.
I
That's a
don't know.
bit
I mean,
much.
This is it's the usual incredulity, right? You just say,
Yeah.
"Oh, that's not possible." But
I mean,
give me a number that is possible. Then, how many watts do you need?
I wouldn't even begin to know, man.
Exactly. You
But it
don't
just
know. So
just
maybe that's the number.
1/1 billionth of a
You have
millionth
no idea
seems so
what the number is.
ridiculous.
You have no idea what the number is. So when they give you a number and then you don't like it, where's that coming from?
Bias, I guess.
Exactly. Right?
But,
I mean, I don't know the number either, but I know we're still in communication with the thing.
Yeah.
So whatever number it is.
Well, you believe it, and you haven't looked at what it would be required at either. Then, right?
That's correct. No, I have not. I have not applied like skepticism to whether we're still in communication with Voyager.
Well, Joe, just the mechanics of how it works, because it just seems so like you would need more power than a fucking 1/1 billionth of a millionth or whatever that shit is. That's insane.
Well, I mean, the mechanics of how it works makes sense. John Rapp, did I catch? I think I saw it go by. I didn't really have time to get into it. It's a good one. There's lots. There's lots and lots of topics that we could get into if you really wanted to know, Alan, and WS is saying this too.
I mean, I'm interested in hearing it, and I might not be able to absorb it right now, but you know, I'll think about it.
But if you really wanted to know if the Earth was flat or if the Earth was round, I would point you to the 20 tests video. Did you look at the 20 tests video
that you've done?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to watch it again. I haven't seen it in a while.
I mean, you don't even have to watch the video. Just pull up the description, because it's got 20 tests. And this is what I said earlier, it's got to be falsifiable.
Okay.
So if the earth is flat and that's a claim, how do we falsify that claim? And let's just do that, right? Let's just do that. And yeah, that's what I did. So I got, an example of 20 tests, and anybody can do. Well, not anybody, but that people can do, So yeah. Everything else is bias.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll go check that out again. I remember you linked it to me, but I kind of breezed over it because I just wasn't interested in the way that I am now. So I'll check it out.
All right. So yeah, I wanted to wrap it up. Let me say something and you say something. What did we do tonight? We started with watching that video together. And that's what I want to highlight, is that we both watched the same video and we had different interpretations of what we were seeing, because we each brought our own personal bias into what we were seeing. I saw an astronaut explaining that it was no big deal if we get a small leak, and that if it was bad enough, we'd seal that thing up, and then he knows for sure there's some kind of procedure that we'd have to do next, but he didn't know what the procedure was offhand. And then Alan, you saw somebody who it was all made up because he didn't know what to do. Yeah, Mallory, you're late. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And so Alan, that was my take on it, was that we need to check our biases, because I went in with a bias that he's telling the truth, and you went in with a bias that he's lying.
Yeah.
And neither one of us gained any difference in our preconceived idea, right? I went in thinking he was telling the truth and saw that he was telling the truth. You went in thinking he was lying and saw that he was lying. So
I've slightly changed my perspective on it. Like I said, his answer was consistent with the lore. So, I mean, he's still lying. Yeah, obviously, but his answer, but his answer, according to, whatever, I'll give you that. I'm not gonna, not gonna be like that. I acknowledge it.
Okay, so I will give you the last word right now.
All right. Well, thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it. And
Thanks for coming on, by the way.
I got a lot to think about. Oh yeah, no problem, dog.
It's not always easy. There's, different people have some pretty strong opinions sometimes, right?
Yeah, no, man. And I try not to get worked up, and I popped off on that guy, but I don't, I have a personal thing with him. So, but yeah, I try not to worry about that shit. Yo, what up, Jezza? I talk to that dude in Discord all the time. Good guy.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, thanks for having me on and talking about this stuff. Appreciate it.
All right. And Dave, if you're still here, serious, I'll talk to you sometime. You didn't think your opinions were shown. Let's hear your opinions. And Mallory, always good to hear from you too. All right. Good night, everybody.
You have a good night.
Keep it short tonight. Good night.